Good morning, everyone. That number seemed to be a big yawn. A lot of flip-flopping around. Wasn't anything of real significance. And started with the Dow here, which is just, as you can see, back and forth this week. I guess to some extent, somewhat bullish, meaning it's not dropping, but it's holding up relatively well after an initial little move, but going nowhere. More tech being hurt as the interest rates rose, but they come down a little bit. We'll take a look at those because they're in an area where they should start to go up. And I think that's going to be the tell as to what the markets do, if they do or not. So just back and forth. You can see on the news there, it flipped up, it flipped down, it came up, and just a lot of running in place, going nowhere for the time being. Inside day. Let's look at others and see if we get any clues here. No, same thing. You can see the hourly chart. There's a pretty well-defined areas of resistance and support. And this whipsaw that on the news, we'll just have to wait for things to settle down a bit. See which way they're going to go. They're down enough. They're on this minor support. Just obviously made sense. We marked this off because the minor support there, at the end of last week, and it's there. It's trying to hold it, and maybe it will. It didn't tag the 50 MA on the way down, so that's a plus. The question is whether it holds on to this little reversal here today, and if we could get prices holding here, maybe we could have an update tomorrow. Of course, does this continue to move up to the top of the range? What happens at the end of the day? And while prices are just flip-flopping back and forth as they are, it makes for a difficult trading environment. As far as looking at this pattern, if you find something else with a more constructive pattern, that supports a more meaningful move, something like this, of course, or something like this, things that we looked at yesterday in MT Live. Those are things that could possibly move, or sectors that could move in a more meaningful way, whereas patterns like this, they're not going to move in a more meaningful way. Well, they more of patterns that just whip around back and forth, and recognizing that keeps you out of trouble, and that's the plus. To recognize things that present higher probability opportunities versus ones that don't. So spiders, see the gap, and we had that whip up and down yesterday. You can see here, back and forth, back and forth. The whip that's going on right now, where is it? So this is a good start. So the whipsaw, it's coming back up. We've got 25 minutes to go to the open. But if it can hold on to this gain, if it's gapping up above the top of a red bar. And so I don't like the way it came down, just generally speaking. Right? Apply this to whatever. What we have here is just connecting the dots, a little whip to the downside where it went up, and we don't know where today's going to end, but you see this? 3 bars. See this? 3 bars. So when we get 3 bars, and how would this, wherever this ends today, probably it tries to go down, and we'll see if it flips back up again during the day. But look, when you've got a few bars, which creates what we want to see intraday, meaning it's going to gap up here. And let's say it comes back down, or the past few days we've talked about sideways at resistance as it related to the dollar and interest rates. So as we get a few days of back and forth on a higher time frame, it begins to build a rounding bottom, a square bottom, some kind of a bottom intraday, and it moves prices away from resistance areas, which creates a higher potential for a more meaningful move. So, maybe, if we get this flip-flopping today, tomorrow, maybe we could get a little move up into this little downdraft, and it doesn't come down to that minor support level on the spiders. Just reiterating that it's not a very good pattern right now to anticipate some kind of move of significance until we get a better bar by bar analysis, which we don't have yet. Yeah, Deep Buck saying that scalps work. Scalps, of course, will always work, and choose your time frame. And situations like this where you have, well-defined areas of support and resistance, and you have rapid moves like this to those reference points, and the rapid moves creating what we call a price void, they're going to present opportunities for scalps versus, and this is really common sense, but we don't know it's common sense at the beginning because we don't know what the frig we're looking at when we start out. But when you start having patterns like this, that are going like that and like this, that's like difficult, if not impossible, to trade. It's the kind of stuff you want to stay away from. But when you have things going like that, and you've got these clear reference points of highs and lows with voids, and then if you start adding candlestick patterns with little breakdown failures and some of the things that we covered yesterday in MT Live, now you've got a scalper plan. And if you can apply that to a daily chart, well, now you've got a plan for credit spreads and even short-term swing trades. So SPX, I didn't get a chance to change the numbers. What did Jake put here? 440 and 455. I got the same 40, 555 at the top. And so let's just see where that lines up on the chart. I had 35, but since prices are moving, I'm sure that lifted up, and why we got 44. And yesterday was 60. So when you see these numbers move higher, it's telling you that traders have somewhat of a belief that things are becoming more positive when you see these strikes move higher and then, of course, lower, more bearish. But notice that over the last week or so, the distance between the highs and the lows have been staying relatively significant, pretty far apart. So there's a big disparity between where institutions and traders think the highs and lows may be. So you've got very large area between the high strike and the low strike. So with prices gapping up here the last time we looked, I think that you've got an opportunity here, if you're so inclined, for an iron condor day, because you're not quite in the middle of this range, but if it's up here at the open holding on to that, it's unlikely it's going to go that high today, and that it's starting here, it's unlikely it's going to go all the way down there, back down there today. So you should consider that. All right. Qs. So they tagged the 50. They did a little tickle underneath it yesterday. Gap up is relatively significant to the top of the red bar. It's a good start to the day. And it's not going to go that high, but it's a good start. Meaning, can it hold on? Can it hold on to this gain? Let's look at the NQs, the futures. and they're starting to trend up, right, toward this resistance area. It's got a little bit of a void. Nothing happened here on the weekly, back and forth, back and forth. So it could go a little higher. So I don't think it's going to go that high. Look at the 3 of the 4 days over here up above. And based on how it's starting the day, I think it potentially can hold on relatively close to yesterday's low, now that it's created that as support. So I'm not expecting any kind of a move of great significance today. Right? The news is out. There's a peek at our internals. They're not there yet. And we want to see sentiment get down into these green bands. Not there yet. Maybe next week. Need some more down moves and scary stuff going on. And your Russell is already down to this support area, and it's been back and forth there. So I just kind of a holding place where little moves up. So these are not high probability patterns at all. At all. So as we get more days, maybe Dan finds things that zero DTE, well, not zero, but credit spreads that expire tomorrow would be attractive. We'll see what comes up there. I'm just going to take a peek here at the dollar. Down a little bit, so that the market likes that. It is at the top of the trading range, but not down of significance. The news out this morning, interest rates pull back a little bit, but remember, they're pulling back into an area where buyers are going to want to buy. So while we're just talking interest rates, what I'm talking about is a pattern. I explained this earlier in the week. A momentum move higher. It pulls back into support. There's going to be buyers there. So if this, you want to set an alert, you don't have to watch it, but just set an alert. Yeah. Just however you do it on your platform. Mine, I just right click and left click and it sets an alert there, and I can drag this around. But if this starts moving up, the probability is the markets won't like it. Remember, as it went up, that's what they got nervous. So just set an alert and see if it does start to move up. And the 30-year, which led the way, interestingly, look at how that went up. So maybe this hasn't pulled back quite enough, but and see how that's jiggling around. I'm not going to watch this during the trading day, but I want to know if it starts moving up or down, because that would give me some insight or bias as to what the broader markets should do. I can see silver and gold are up here a little bit. Silver got shellacked pretty good. It's on support, just trying to stabilize. And gold not doing anything. I mentioned yesterday it's holding up relatively well compared to silver, but just trading within a range here, as you can see on the weekly chart. So just set an alert. I mean, if that does start to move up, it got room, for whatever reason, it's got room to start moving up into that void up above. But right now it's doing nothing. So there's no interest, but it's fine to let the computer keep an eye on it for you. Oil backing off a little bit. It's at the top of the trading range. That makes sense, of course, but at the top of yesterday's bar so far, not a big deal. As I look, nothing's a big deal right now. Just looking at the broader markets, there's nothing of significance going on other than prices are jiggling around here, and we'll see how they play out by the end of today. I would hope with a pattern like this, a little spike lower into a more significant support area, I think that would set up a much better opportunity for over the short term. As I said, this pattern, it's nothing. I mean, and unless you could get a bar that this thing closes up at the top of this range, and then, a little consolidation, we could really have something to talk about where, hey, is that all there is to this correction? Then we'd start considering something like that. But right now, an inside day, that news that came out, which was pretty much no big help as far as inflation subsiding, not at all. So if this does close green, if we were to get a bull kind of sandwich and this comes down here, that would be, I think, a fantastic opportunity for a counter trend rally. But right now, I don't see anything to get excited about as far as the broader markets go. And Bitcoin still could be in play. We saw this big green bar yesterday and day before yesterday. So we'll see if this flips around. But that's about it. I think semis, things started to break yesterday, and this isn't flipping all the way back up again. So there's some decent looking stocks within the semiconductors that were holding up real well. And if they start to break lower, I think that's going to be a bad sign too. So those things showing relative strength, you can see that weekly chart. The bottom line is this market isn't out of the woods yet. All yours, Dan. The 2-year treasury on this platform, someone was asking, you can see right here. Here's the 2-year note, ZT. That's the continuous contract that you put pound F here. You don't use the continuous, just put in whatever the month is. $50.
Good morning. Yeah, old Rick Santelli was describing that inflation, as Greg is saying, but in his more charismatic way. He's like, look, guys and gals, unless we get negative numbers, then it's still high. So why are you celebrating that it's flat? Well, it's not going up, but you know what I'm saying. All right, this let's look at some earnings. Like always, like I said, Bravo November alarm. This was a buy setup, gapping up, so I like that a lot. Gonna put that in the window. I had a couple of buy setups here actually. I just typed them into Telegram. Let me get them. Triple M is a buy setup. Yesterday's high. JBI. That one came down a little sloppier. And then Archer. If somebody can tell me if this was earnings pre or post, I see it wiggling around pre-market, so that suggests that it was pre. But I like that. Post, all right, shoot, all right, so forget about it, thanks. Let's go right up to earnings. I don't have, well, actually, I have rates alarm going off. We have a call spread. I see one print up here. Hey, you know what, you all, do you remember how do I say this? How pissed off I get when you get wide option spreads and option traders, I mean, option market makers like screw the public. We have a subscriber who used a market order and got filled on the gap up yesterday on this thing. And he, on a $5 spread, he got filled more than the $5 debit. Let that sink in. So I was outraged. I told him, you fight, you sue, you report it to the SEC. No, but it's unconscionable to fill more than your max loss. That is theft. And he's with Interactive Broker, and I am shocked that Interactive Broker told him to bug off, that it was a good fill. I said, go after those SUBs too. Sorry, I mean, I got so friggin' pissed at that. All right, earnings here. Disney gapping over this red bar. I posted it as a put spread. I got it bottom right. We'll watch it first 10, 15 minutes. It could be a directional too. I said yesterday, I did not want to sell a put spread. No, 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 Joe. No, no, broker, no, sirree. A broker doesn't fill from the own inventory typically, unless you're a big prime broker, and then they have to disclose it. They got to mark the order like that. No, it was a market maker, thief and SOB market maker. So I said yesterday, it's a downtrend, daily, weekly, monthly. So I didn't want to sell a put spread, although I was contemplating the 82s. But I said, and there's a number of trades like this, that you got to think creative, like, hey, what if it does XYZ? And I said exactly that yesterday. I said, if we gap near or above this red bar's high, then it's a bottoming pattern with a void. So that's why I like that as directional too. DNA gapping down. There's been a lot of sub $5 stocks here recently. This plug is getting whacked. We'll see what it does here around the $9 level. So this is another perfect example. It was a failed buy setup here. It made this is a good measured move example. 3 bars. It's attempting to turn at the 50, but it hasn't. But what if it trades above yesterday's high? Then it's a 180 reversal buy set up at the 50. So I got an alarm at 540. Wow, this thing was down like $8 last night when I looked at it. Now it's relatively flat. I was contemplating Condor on this yesterday, but I didn't do it. I only did one earnings trade yesterday with Sam IM. We did Groupon. We sold the 6s down here for 25 cents, and that's opening up a couple pennies. So I'm bidding 2 cents to get out. This I like as a little dollar stock. Breakout daily, weekly. It's opening, looks like it's up a penny or whatever. Let's keep an eye on that. Migne gapping down to 10. So this would go into my excessive gap category. Let's see what it does in the first 30. APP 37. Wow, that's a big old gap. This season, there's definitely been more bearish gaps than bullish ones, but I'll throw that in the bullish gap count. Cano, I think, it's a marijuana stock. This will be another one. It's a junky bottoming pattern, but if it took out yesterday's high, you got my attention. Just set an alarm. You got nothing to lose. MFC, I can't. Okay, see, I can't tell where it's opening, but here is another one. Let's set an alarm at 1945. If this negates yesterday's bar, then it's a W bottom with a, kind of a much higher low. So 1610, it's range bound, nothing to do, or too extended. Win, I saw it gapping up, but there's no pattern. I mean, depending on how it closes, it might be a bear 1, 2, 3. This was another one that if it could take out yesterday's high, then it, kind of a W bottom looking thing. I'll just set an alarm here at 3:31. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. This reminds me of your hair cutting person, where they go around and they do the second and third check. Look, I did the same thing that I already did yesterday in the green room. So that's just showing you the consistency of our thinking, of our approach. 1420. All right, this could be a 30-minute high. And there's Groupon purple. gapping down, that's in pain. Orgo, $3. Wow, that's a nasty gap way down here. We'll come back to it, but really no interest. Clean was up, now down. I don't know. We'll come back. G. I would have put this in the weekend letter as a short, a little descending triangle breakdown. Bearish weekly, monthly, but earnings today. Adma, here's another one over yesterday's high. I'm surprised my alarm didn't go off because I thought I had one at 416. All right, so if somebody wants to watch this, looks good. Look at FLNC in my middle chart here. It's gapping up to the top of the range. I love gaps like that. So if this can, I don't know. I for expediency, I use a two-step process. You know, it's a bullish gap. Then let's put it in a 5-minute chart. Let's see what it does in the first 30 minutes. Card, nothing. Look, potential double bottom. I said yesterday in the green room. Now it's 468. That looks great. I'm running out of windows here. I'm going to put this in a window. SILV. So it's in a 5-minute chart. Let's see what it does. The room. I don't see any gap. Task. We were looking at this one yesterday. The implied volatility was massive, which suggests a big move up or down. The verdict is out and the move is down. That looks horrible. Alumina, look at this. Look, you see how my eye it goes to the most interesting thing to me. Look at that nasty monthly. That is a breakdown on the monthly. Now it's gapping under all this. I think it's a bio of some sort, but that looks ugly. Call spread, if it's not a bio, there's a big old gap down. Man, you know, when you got to go to your weekly chart to find where the numbers are, then you know it's a big gap. We'll come back. No pattern, but possible retest. You know, you can set an alarm at 11:02, and that has a void to the upside. This is a pattern that you could trade up or down over yesterday's high low, but it's a $2 stock, so no interest. This one's far from the 20 CPA. One. All right, there's a bullish gap. There's a put spread, you all. You know, I'm going to need help here at the open, so I throw out all these ideas. CPA, I typically know him. He's spready on the options, so I'm going to wait 5 minutes. Baba 97.80, no pattern. Bravo November, that's the one I put in the window. I like that a lot if it doesn't retrace anymore. Hey Alex, not a bio. All right, thanks, Scott. Then yeah, let's look at a call spread on Illumina. Man, this is whipping right on the lot, so no interest right now. Yeah, I saw the gap up. My alarm actually went off on that. Well, look, my alarm went off, but I don't see any prints now. But yeah, keep an eye on it. Yeah. Cyber 152. It's a bullish gap, but to resistance, no interest. MFC alarm. What did I say, you all? I said if it gaps over this bar, but the gap's too big. I like these when they gap just to the high, a few pennies above or below. So, you know, even though we don't trade it, it's another memory of your technical GPC alarm. My alarm. All right, my alarm didn't go off. Maybe I didn't reset it yesterday, but no, I'd give it 5 minutes. Give it 5-minute high, Roger. Let me type that. Yeah, no, Disney's posted as a put spread to start and as a possible directional also.